My name is Kate. I work here at the South Dakota Arts Council and I'm the grants manager. And then we have our community outreach and communications person, Sarah Carlson, working in the wings, letting people in. And our newest addition to the grants team, our grant specialist, Holly Briggs, is also on the call. So what we've done this year is just establish these learning sessions as quick check-ins. Really, it comes down to nobody really has time for a webinar anymore, myself included, and I'm sure everybody on this call. So this is an opportunity for us to share out some very specific information, and then we'll open the floor for questions and answers. But you'll see my contact information and Holly's contact information. It's also across our grants page and our South Dakota Arts Council's page. So if you have any questions at any time, you can reach out to any of us, either by phone or by email. This session is being recorded and will be posted on our Facebook page as soon as we're able to get them. And I will let everyone know this is our third session of 4. We will not have a session next week. Staff will be recovering from Arts Day at the Capitol on Thursday. So we will resume our sessions on Thursday, February 19th, and that will be our final learning session. We are always available to answer any questions that you may have about the application, so don't ever hesitate to reach out and give us a call. Today, we're going to talk about a few sections of the application that can cause a lot of questions. The first being the budget. This is one that we've noticed on some applications having some issues and some questions, and we just want to provide a little bit of clarity on the budget section for everyone. The budget section is a very condensed version of a budget in case you've applied with us before. You've seen some separate sections for expenses and income. And what we've done this year is really truncate our budget down to just a single budget sheet. This is true across any application. So whether you're applying on the artist side or the organization side, this is the budget sheet that you'll see. What we're going to highlight here is just the items that tend to have the most questions coming in. So at the top of your budget sheet, you'll see some project expenses, and this is true if you're an individual artist, you're applying for general organizational support, or you're applying for a specific project. You'll see these top 3 questions coming across. When it's asking for artistic fees, what we want to see there is what you think you're going to pay artists directly to do the work that you're planning to do. And when I say personnel or artists, I mean any bodies, any humans that you're paying to do the work. So that could be contracted personnel, that could be full-time staff, that could be part-time staff. That could be an artist that you're hiring to come in and do a mural. So all of those things would go on that line item. You'll see artistic fees come up again when you get down to the actual expenses. Those 2 things should match. So we should see the same reported expense on the top bucket as we do on the bottom bucket. Same with the total expenses for the project. Again, we're talking about project in the broadest sense here. So if you're in the general organizational support bucket, this would be your total expenses that you're projecting for the upcoming year. If you're a project applicant, this would be the total expenses that you're projecting as a project person, and same as an artist. In-kind expenses get a little bit more confusing. You'll see this is a different way of asking about in-kind expenses. We're just asking for a single line item for in-kind, and an in-kind counts once. So you're only counting your in-kind up in this box. We're not seeing it anywhere in your income. We're not seeing it anywhere in your expenses. In-kind is something that you are getting that you are not paying for. So it could be a reduced rate on, let's say you're booking the auditorium and they're cutting you a deal for $250 and the expense would normally be $500. So you would put that $250 in that in-kind box. Perhaps someone is doing some pro bono for your marketing work. Again, that could go in that in-kind box. Just want to make it very clear that in-kind things that aren't being paid for aren't showing up in your cash expenses, and they're not showing up as a match on your income side. So that all of those things that are coming in for you that are services, products, materials, utilities, rental space, whatever that may be that you're not transferring cash for, that would go in that in-kind bucket. When we get down to the sources of income, again, we're talking about cash income. Your grant is part of your projected cash income. So that line item C that you'll see on the screen, that is where your granted amount is going. So if I'm applying as an artist for an artist career development grant, I have no idea if I'm going to get that money or not. But that is still going to count as income on my budget because it's my match for what I plan to do. So as an individual artist, I'm going to show that $2,000 in the top box. And then when I get down to my cash expenses, I want to make sure that I'm reporting $2,000 going out the door, projecting that I'm going to get that money and I'm going to spend that money. That's all we need your budget to show. When we talk about other income in that top section of the budget, other income and applicant cash are money out of your own pocket. So it's your cash paying for something. You're not necessarily, it's not admission costs, it's not ticket sales. Again, coming back to me applying as an individual artist, let's say that $2,000 that I project to get for my grant is in line C, but my total work that I want to do is well above that. And I don't necessarily have a financial backer. I don't have any city income coming for that. So the bulk of what I'm putting to pay for those expenses is my own money and money out of my own pocket. So that's E. That's line E on that budget. And those are just two things that get tricky, especially applicant cash. We get questions about applicant cash all the time. And the best definition I can give you for that is it's basically money out of your own pocket to put stuff back in your hands. You're paying for your own materials, your own expenses, your own whatever that looks like. When we get down to the actual cash expenses, again, these are cash expenses. These are things that you are paying money for and you are getting in return. So when we talk again, when we're back to those artistic fees, I want you to think of this artistic fees as that personnel bucket. This is staff, this is full-time, this is part-time, this is contract. Again, think of the humans, the people that you are paying to do the work that you have planned to do. That's what's going to go in that artistic fees bucket. And then when we talk about space rental, what we see a lot of times is, and I just want to clarify here, this is a pre-built budget that I don't have control over. So these monikers are confusing and they get tricky even for us as staff. So we're just trying to explain things in a way that helps us know what you're putting in buckets and helps you know what to put where. So when we see space rental, like for me, that would be like, that's just what I'm paying. That's my rent. But we'd really like to see the whole of your space, your utilities, any kind of building costs would go there. And then other expenses, this is a line item that we really do try to keep for travel, so that we can just have an understanding of what your projections are for travel. Maybe you're not traveling at all, so that would be a 0. And
So just keep that in mind as you kind of work through those sections of budget. We have no problem seeing zeros in any of these categories of support. And on the artist side, I want to make it very clear that we have no problem seeing your entire grant going to pay yourself for the work that you plan to do. So if you expect a fellowship grant at $5,000 and you are going to use that to pay for yourself and your time, that is a completely legitimate expense, and we want to see you tracking that in that budget section. I could talk about the budget all day. It's fine. The other thing we really want to dig into that causes a little bit of confusion is when we talk about, oh, it's the work samples, it's the materials, it's the portfolio, it's the kind of the we've moved from buckets of money to buckets of stuff, buckets of work, really. And so what we wanted to make very clear is we have two lanes for you to share your work. One lane is for you to share web links, maybe to your individual artist Instagram or to a project that you did at the South Dakota Art Museum that is a complete and utter success, and you want to highlight it and show it off. Sharing that link is the easiest, most efficient way to do it. So any links that you have that you are sharing, those would all go into the share my work section. You're either including live links in a dialog box that has a character count, or you're uploading documents with links posted in them that people can just click through. We do want you to make sure that when you're uploading documents or you're sharing documents in that way, that nothing is password protected and that our panel can get to it easily and accessibly. This could be anything that you're just directly uploading that our panel is going to see as live links. It could be live links to a PDF document. It could be live links, again, to your personal Instagram feed, whatever that looks like. That's what you're sharing here. And then the next section that we have is this portfolio. What you're doing is you're uploading a variety of documents, a variety of work that you've done in the past. These could be audio links, video links, audio samples, video samples, work document samples that you're uploading into the portfolio of the GoSmart system and then linking directly to your application. In general, across the board, this is one of the sections that we see people get tripped up with a little bit. They're uploading stuff into their work portfolio in GoSmart, but they're not taking the step to link it to the application. So when you look at that final application before you apply, you'll see thumbnails of the work that you've provided. And so if you get to that page of the application and you're not seeing those thumbnails, that means that we're not seeing those thumbnails either. So just keep that in mind. We do have some samples out there of applications that show kind of the types of work samples that you may include, things that you may consider bringing in. And then always know that this is something that we vet when applications come in. So if we see your application without work samples, we will hit pause on that and give you time to provide those. But there are checks that you can do along the way. Like I said, when you think that you're providing things for that portfolio, oh, I've uploaded all my work and it's not showing up. Again, you're going to see those little thumbnails show up on your screen. So make sure those are there when you get to the portfolio section. And then the other thing that we just want to make very clear is our panelists are reviewing a lot of applications. And so we do put a max of 20 on work in general. That's across the board. That's between the links that you're providing in the Share My Work section. That's in the documents and uploads that you're providing in the portfolio section. Really don't want to see more than 20 examples of what you've done in the past. because that's pretty much the max of what our panelists are going to be able to review. Now, I would also add that if you're sharing something like the link to your artist Instagram or Facebook or your gallery online, there is going to be a limit of how deep people dig. So providing direct links to exactly what you want them to see is always the best practice. Uploading your best work to your portfolio and highlighting that first and foremost, again, always the best practice. Keeping it recent is always a good thing, and then keeping it connected to the work that you plan to do. So those are kind of the truths that we like to pass along when you're thinking about the work. I know how hard it can be. You know, every piece of work feels like a lifetime to create and to present. So you want to put everything in there, but you also want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, that you're highlighting the work that is the most relevant to the work that you plan to do, and you're highlighting those things that are most recent to you. Um, I worked in fast food in high school. I don't think I would put that on my resume anymore. So it's, you know, that was 30 plus years ago. It's not necessarily the path I'm on right now. So just keeping that in mind, keeping things relevant, keeping things current, and keeping things connected to the proposal that you're putting forward. That just causes a lot less questions coming back from the panel. If you're planning to do a bronze casting and everything you're putting forward is watercolor painting, it's hard to find that direct connection to the work that you plan to do. Like I mentioned, we do have resources available on the applicant portal. That website is live. We have it broken into resources for artist applicants and for organizational applicants. You'll find the scoring rubric. If you're applying as an artist, you'll find the scoring rubric for each category of support that's offered through that artist application. You'll also find examples of each type of artist application. We've really tried to craft something that is providing you with a good example. It's a totally fake artist, built on the fly. So we really put everything into that and really put everything out there. On the project grant side, you'll also find a sample application from a fake organization, just to give you some guidance of what to think about as you're completing that application and how to kind of move it through. Scoring rubric is out there as well as some narrative questions for you to think about as you complete your application. Organizational support grants, that scoring rubric is out there, and then some other thinking items as you work through the narrative section of that organizational support grant. Those are all included in the resources section as well. The last thing that I'll share out is for our project grant and artist grant applications, we do offer a draft review period. If you have your application in by 11:59 p.m. on, I almost said December, on February 10th, so next Tuesday, we as staff will review that application and provide you with any context back, if any feedback back, if you're missing something or something wasn't clear. For everyone on this call, we vet every single application that comes in. We review your budget, your materials, check your links, make sure things are working. What we don't do is read through the full of your narrative after that, gosh, I did it again. After that February 10th, I'm thinking deadline. But for those on the call that are seeking that organizational support, we don't do the draft reviews. As you know, those applications are pretty lengthy, but we are always vetting those applications. Your budget is going to a CPA for review. So we have some other checks in place to be able to provide that higher level of review for those specific grants. So I think that's all I have to share. I'll stop sharing my screen and we'll open the floor for anyone that may have questions.
Yes. Okay. So I'll answer this. So when you add anything to the application, we ask that it's not password protected. So if it does require a subscription, that's something that we won't be able to do. So it's better off if you just take the newspaper article as a screenshot or a copy and put it into the application as an attachment. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and end it. Just a reminder that there, again, will be our final chat on February 19th, again at 3:30 Central Time.